Avram Avinu, and then there's the same as Yitzchak, they were Merkava. Merkava is somebody who's totally and completely bottled to Hashem. Every fiber of his being was connected to Hashem. Every thought, every word, every action, every nuance was connected to Hashem. There was no I, there's no me. And therefore, Hashem asked to do something that the fact that he's ready to even do something like the Akedah is to Avram Avinu, that isn't the ultimate test. So what was the test? The test was a test in Amunah. Hashem told Avram Avinu that I promise you that your son Yitzchak will be a father of a great nation, and these children will be your seed, your descendants. And in the end, Hashem is telling him to bring Yitzchak as a korban before he's even married. There's no potential for that nevuah, those words, to be fulfilled. And that's a test where a person might be questioning Hashem and his truth. It looks like Hashem said something and is going back on it. Now, Avraham Avinu stood by that test. He had no doubts. He had no questions. He accepted it fully. And like we explained yesterday, what was he actually thinking? And the answer was, in his mind, whatever Hashem says is emes, and therefore he didn't think it was a test, and then it wouldn't have been a test. He thought that what he's going to do now is going to do to the end. What Hashem told him is emes. How to reconcile these two things? He said, this is a question that logic is asking. Hashem is beyond logic, and I don't have any questions. So that was a question of Amunah. And the same thing in our Parsha, where the Pasuk talks about the false prophet, it's a question in Amunah. So this is a general category. Anything that happens that makes us question Amunah, this is the fifth category that he's talking about, this kind of test. So let's say in the situation which we're in today, especially for us, where the Rebbe told us, the time of redemption has arrived. The Rebbe told us Mashiach's coming is imminent, and everything is happening in the world that's leading up to Mashiach, and all the amazing things that we see, and so on and so forth. Then you see something happening that seems to be totally the opposite. First of all, the mere fact that so many years have passed, we still don't see it in a complete way. And then something like this is happening, which seems to be the opposite. So not to lose Emunah, that's the Nisayon that we're in right now. When Moshe Rabbeinu went up to the mountain, and he said, I'll be back in 40 days and 40 nights, like we learned in the other Maimer. And the Yidden started to have doubts that maybe he's not coming back, which means they're not fully trusting his words that he's going to come back. So it was a question of Amunah. When Moshe came and told the Yidden, we're going out of Mitzrayim. Remember Hashem promised you, you're going to go out of Mitzrayim. Now is the time. And we know that many people didn't believe him. That was a test in Amunah. So anything that tests our Amunah, which basically, and usually that's coming from Seichel, it's intellect, logic, raises questions that challenge our Amunah, and that is an Nisayon, which means the thought in my own head, or if it's certain circumstance that creates that thought in my head, that's all part of the Nisayon of Amunah. So now we're going to go to one more thing. Before we go to that, there's one more thing in the Maimer that I want to cover. What we did in this Maimer so far was a part of the Maimer of the Alter Rebbe, part of a Maimer of the Mittel Rebbe, and part of a Maimer of the Tzemach Tzedek. So if you can turn to page 45 in the booklet, it's sort of a summary of everything we did. The first part on page 45 is a summary of the Alter Rebbe's Maimer. The second part is the summary of the Mitul Rebbe's Maimer, no, the Tzemach Tzedek, and the third one is from the Mitul Rebbe.
I think we might not have that.
Really?
Yeah, it's not that 44.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, we
Oh,
will.
wait, it's this though. Is it the questions?
No.
Oh.
It says on top summary.
No, that's the innocent.
No, that's where it stops.
Yeah.
Okay, the truth is, it's really there. But, you woke up late, you don't see it. I see it.
I don't have enough faith for that.
Maybe
No. Okay, so maybe we'll do this later because I just wanted you to see it. It's more clear here. So we'll skip this now and let's go to page. I hope you have that, page 42. Yeah, you do have it. Page 42 is another mimer from the Rebbe about the subject of Nisoyin. But there's something new here and something which relates to us more than other things. It's about our situation here. The part that I want to do mainly, it's a mimer the Rebbe once gave on Achar Shal Pesach. It starts with Kimeitzeis Chamemet Mitzrayim, as you can see. It says on top, it was said by the Rebbe Tavshin Lametes, but the Rebbe didn't edit it until Tavshin Memtes. So that means that you would find it in the Sefer Mamor Melukit of the Rebbe. The name of the Maim is Kimeitzeischa Me'eretz Mitzrayim, Tavshin Memtes. So it's where it says, hey, begins over there. The Rebbe talks about what Yitzis Mitzrayim means, going out of Egypt. As we know that it's not just physically, geographically, leaving from one country to another country. And it's not even just going from slavery to freedom. It's much deeper than that. It was a spiritual exodus, a spiritual redemption. And that is that Yidden were limited in terms of a connection to Hashem. And after they went out of Mitzrayim, those limitations were removed. And now they were able to serve Hashem without limitations. And the reason why the limitations were removed was because the limitations removed in Shamayim. In heaven, Hashem's light shines into this world. And it's also, in a way, limited, concealed. And therefore, they weren't yet ready to go out of Mitzrayim. They weren't ready to receive the Torah. But when Hashem removed the limitations up there and Hashem's light began to shine down here, that made that they down here should go out of captivity and go out of slavery and receive the Torah and so on. And one of the things in this mimer is that this is a process that continues from then until Mashiach comes. It's not a one-time thing, which means that every year, in a sense, where there are more limitations that are being removed and higher levels of godliness are being revealed. Yes, we don't see here the greater miracles happening every year, but there's other ways that this is expressed. But the Rebbe is explaining that when Mashiach comes, finally, that means that ultimately the highest level of limitations will be removed, and then we're going to see incredible changes here down on earth. But when it says Ois Hey, it says that one of the things it says about Mashiach is when he comes, there'll be a new Shamayim, there'll be a new heaven, there'll be a new earth. And the Rebbe explains, it doesn't mean it'll be physically, this world will disappear, and it'll be a new heaven and earth. It means the earth and the heaven, the way we know it now, we'll see it in a whole new way, because godliness will be revealed. Also in reference to Torah, it says there'll be new insight in Torah that was never known before. And that's why all the great tzaddikim, the Tanoim, the Amoraim, the Nevi'im, the greatest tzaddikim that ever lived, even Moshe Rabbeinu, will be back and they'll be learning Torah from Mashiach. What could they learn? They already know everything. And the answer is there'll be new insight in Torah revealed that was never known before. The Gemara says this based on a pasuk, Torah me'iti teitze. So the Rebbe says, if there's going to be a new world, new Torah, new heaven, new earth, everything will be new. That means that our avodah, preparing for that, the avodah that's going to initiate that also has to be new. What is that avodah? And that's what the Rebbe is going to explain. So on this same page 42, but look at the second side where it starts with V'ha'inyanhu. The inyan is, what is the new avodah that we're doing today, that new avodah is going to draw down this new light that we're talking about. The Zman HaBayis, in the times of the Beis HaMikdash, Shahaya az Gilui Elokus, godliness was revealed. Like it says, Asara Nisim Nasu Laviseinu Bebeis HaMikdash. This is a Mishnah in Pirkei Avos, where it says that on a constant basis, there were 10 miracles that were occurring in the Beis HaMikdash, constantly. Shenisim Elu, what is a nes? We know a miracle is Gilui Elokus. Teva, when we see things happening in the natural order, that conceals godliness. When we see something miraculous and cannot be explained by the laws of science, that means you see there's something higher here than nature, which is Hashem. So whenever there's a miracle, that is a galus, that's a revelation of Hashem. So they saw these miracles be'enei basar. This is not miracles they had to see with the eyes of their mind. They had to think about it and meditate and understand. No, they saw something with their physical eyes, which was not al pi teva. There's certain of those miracles that not only a yid, you can say, okay, yid, he has a nefesh elokis, he has special powers, so he could see things. No, it was so physical and so down to earth and so visible that anybody, even the nations of the world, can see the miracles. Like one of the things the Gemara says was that there was a column of smoke coming from the carbon. No matter what the weather was, no matter how strong the winds blew, could have been a hurricane wind, the column of smoke went straight up. So you're watching something with your eyes of flesh. Al pi teva, it should be swaying back and forth like any other normal thing. So and who sees this? Anybody could see it, which means it descended down to the most physical level. You could see it here in this world. So because godliness was so revealed, Hakiyim the Torah mitzvahs, Hoya Pitam Vadas. Observing Torah mitzvahs was something which was Apitam Vadas, which logic dictated that we should serve Hashem, because you could see Hashem, you could feel Hashem's presence. So therefore, logic dictated that there's a creator and he created us for a purpose. We should listen to him, we should serve him, we should love him, and so on, and so on. So in other words, Apitam Vadas means that even logic dictated that this is what we should be doing. Even though then, even in those days, there was a command, V'havta, you should love Hashem with all your heart and all your soul, with everything you have. So that means that you're supposed to have, we know, what does it mean? With all your heart and all your soul, and everything means even give up your life, Mesiras Nefesh. Mesiras Nefesh is not logical. Nevertheless, Kivin Sharo Osgila the Kuzba Muchash, being that it was a time that they saw godliness explicitly with their physical eyes, Gama Mesiras Nefesh Ayaz, even the Mesiras Nefesh of those days, Ayamadidav Akbola the Tamvadas. It was a Mesiras Nefesh that was still somehow motivated by their understanding, by the fact that they saw with their own eyes godliness, and therefore logically made perfect sense to them. So in a sense, it wasn't totally, completely something which is going out of all limitations. It made sense, even in some sort of a calculated way, because we saw godliness in an open way. And the same applies to the time of Golus, when the darkness wasn't so severe. What he means by this last line is, one of the things we learn about in Chassidus is that, we have this question about how come Chassidus was revealed only recently. If this is such an important part of Torah, and you need Chassidus in order to serve Hashem with love and fear by understanding more about Him, so how was it before the Baal Shem Tov that people didn't study Chassidus? Not only didn't study, it was hidden. You weren't allowed to study. So people only studied Gemara, Halacha, Chumash, Mefarshim, all these things, but not the esoteric part of Torah. So, if it's something which is crucial, should have been revealed then. If it's not crucial, why are we making such an emphasis on it now? And the answer is, before it wasn't crucial, and now it is crucial. And how do you explain that? How could something be different before and after? And the answer is that the purpose of learning Chassidus is to be able to understand the greatness of Hashem. And only by learning about the greatness of Hashem can a person develop true love of Hashem, fear of Hashem. In other words, the more I understand Hashem, the more I can develop a deeper emotional bond with Him. To do the mitzvahs practically, which means to say what I need to say, davening, brachas, to do what I need to do, the 248 mitzvahs. Whether you do have the feeling, you don't have the feeling, you can still do it. Everything could be done, action. But in terms of feeling an emotional bond to Hashem, which are the feelings of Abba and Yira, things that are real deep feeling like Amunah, these are things that the more you learn about Hashem, the deeper it is. So therefore, if you don't learn about these things, you can still be very committed to davening and mitzvahs and not doing averos 100%. But in terms of the emotional bond, the deeper bond is three things. We're learning about it right now in Tanya. The three things Alter Rebbe says in today's Chitas is love for Hashem, fear of Hashem, and emunah in Hashem. This is the deeper dimension of our bond with Hashem. The other dimension is just practical, to do, to say, and to think those things that according to Torah we're commanded to do and to observe. So how did they develop this years ago? And the answer is years ago, they didn't need to learn this part of Torah to develop it. And the reason is because Hashem's presence was revealed. In the times of the Beis Hamikdash, Hashem's presence was so revealed that they naturally felt love for Hashem, naturally felt fear of Hashem, naturally had amun in Hashem, because everything was so open. And not only that, Torah is Hashem's wisdom. Doesn't matter which part, whether it's a pasuk in Chumash, whether it's a line in Shulchan Aruch, whether it's a chapter of Tehillim, whether it is something in the Medrash, anything in Torah is Hashem's wisdom. It's godly. In those days, godliness was so open that when I studied anything in Torah, it doesn't have to be Chassidus, anything. I'm studying the laws of marriage, the laws of divorce, the laws of payment, the laws of partnership, the laws of agriculture, any law, if it's Torah, the person would walk away inspired, on fire with love for Hashem, just from studying regular things in Torah. Why? Because the godliness in it was revealed. You felt Hashem's presence. So when did it change and how did it change? Was there an abrupt change? So the way it's explained in Chassidus is no. This feeling of godliness in a revealed way, this was generated by the Beis Hamikdash. Once the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed, it was no longer the same. But every generation post Beis Hamikdash, it got, in a sense, darker and darker. There's a mashal that's given. It's like a person who's sitting on a wagon, a horse and wagon, in the city, and it's at night. So even though it's nighttime, but the road is lit up. How is it lit up? First of all, there are lampposts outside. And second of all the people's homes that have light in their homes through the windows, the street also gets lit up. And then the person starts moves until he comes to the end of the town and is out on the road where all there are trees, forest. When he goes out on the road, it's no longer light, but there's still some light lingering from the city. If he travels another mile, it's much darker, but there's still a little bit of light that's shining from the city. And basically, every little bit that he travels further, the light gets dimmer and dimmer and dimmer and dimmer, till it comes to a certain point where it could be totally dark. Like you can no longer benefit from the light that was there before. So the same with the Beis Hamikdash. Every generation after the destruction of Beis Hamikdash, the light that the Beis Hamikdash generated becomes dimmer. The next generation, dimmer. The next generation, dimmer. So every generation, it gets darker and darker and darker. Of course, there's never a time where there's absolutely no benefit from that light, chas v'sholem. But in the times of the Baal Shem Tov, it reached a certain point where it was so dark that we needed something additional to generate this deeper connection to Hashem of Ava, Yira, and Amunah. So that's what he's saying, that in the times of the Beis Hamikdash, for sure, it was something which we felt Hashem's presence. Even Mesiras Nefesh came from a place where even my logic dictated this is what I should do. This is Hashem is emes, Torah is emes, that's what I should do. And the next generation, it was less, but there still was more light. But the Rebbe says now in these generations, especially now, we're at the end. This generation is called Dora, the Ikvis of the Mashiach, the generation which is the heels of Mashiach. It means two things. One meaning is we hear the footsteps of Mashiach. The other meaning is it's the heels of all generations. Just like a human being, there's a head, there's a heart, there are hands, and there are feet. Then there's the heels, and the heels are the lowest part of the body. If we look at all the Jewish people from the beginning of time till now, there were those generations which were the heads, generations which were their hearts, generations which were the hands and the feet, and we are the ikvisa, we are the heel, the lowest. Shebechol yom, and every day in this generation, nasa is gabras acheshech. The darkness gets even darker than the day before. V'yeshnu kama nisyonos, and there's more tests. So this is the new avodah. The fact that there are tests under these circumstances where everything is totally hidden, I don't have that sort of feeling of Hashem is so open and so emes, and I see it and I feel it. We don't have all that. And nevertheless, to have Mesiras Nefesh, that's a kind of Mesiras Nefesh that was never performed in generations before. Especially, Befrat, and especially which the Nisayan of Al-Yibash of Pnei HaMaligim. Don't be intimidated and don't be embarrassed by people that laugh at you. Mekoshke, in other words, today is a time, more than ever, where people laugh at those who observe mitzvahs and learn Torah. Especially when the people that laugh and the people that ridicule your Torah and your mitzvahs, they themselves are just people that are simple people or empty people, people that have no content, they're empty within themselves, and yet they're making fun of everything that we do. It's very difficult to tolerate. And there's a footnote here on the bottom, number 40, where it says there's a pasuk in Chumash, which says, "Ish Moshe Rabbeinu, onav ma'od mikol adam asher pnei adama." He was humble, and he was humble, more humble than, and he felt himself more humble than anybody on earth. In other words, not only he felt humble towards Hashem, he felt humble towards other people. He felt that other people were better than him, greater than him. I think everyone knows the reason why, because he felt that Hashem gave him special powers, but he said it felt humble towards everybody and anybody. The Alter Rebbe says in the Maimer, specifically, Hashem showed him the future, and he showed him that generation right before Mashiach comes. And when Moshe Rabbeinu saw people that were so simple, that was so lack of knowledge, nothing compared to the knowledge and the godliness that was revealed to the early generations, and yet they're able to stand up to all the tests, and specifically this test of not being moved by people that ridicule them, that humbled him more than anything else. That's what the Alter Rebbe says. So this is to stand up to these tests, who avoided the Mesiras Nefesh, this is a Mesiras Nefesh that's totally out of unlimited, because even there's nothing in a person like in the other generations that would cause him to overcome this, because he sees and understands there's something there. In our generation, at the end of the Golus, Nihilus in a certain extent, the nisyonos that we are going through now is greater from all the avodah that was there in the previous generations. Again, because in previous generations, no matter how difficult it was, but they also had the positive end, where there was something that they saw and they experienced that gave them that strength to have this strength to have this Mesiras Nefesh. Today it's dark. It's so dark we don't even see anything of what they saw or what they felt. And yet to have Mesiras Nefesh, this is Avodah Chadasha. This is a new Avodah, which is unprecedented. And through an Avodah that's unprecedented, we come to have teachings in Torah and Shamayim Chadash and a new earth and a new heaven, a new insight in Torah, which is also unprecedented. So it's good to hear that after everything we talk about Nisayan, the Rebbe points out the Nisayan which we suffer from today, which unfortunately we all know how real this is, of ridiculing Torah mitzvahs. And of course, sometimes you're ridiculed by someone who speaks about it in an intellectual way. No. Then there are people who are very far from intellectual. They just bash and make fun and put it down. And this is very painful to hear. And especially when you hear it from people that you respect or you care for them, relatives and things like that. So this is a very difficult Nisayan. But the Rebbe says this is the Nisayan that's going to bring Mashiach. Of course, all the Aveda of all the generations together is bringing it. But the last sort of, the loose ends that have to be tied is mainly through this Aveda of the Mesiras Nefesh we have today.
So Rabbi Majeski, the Chassidus, it didn't bring in the equal amount of light that was missing? Or like say having a Rebbe, like those two things, didn't that equal
No,
out?
that's why we're still begging and pleading for the Beis HaMikdash. It definitely compensates what we're missing, but it's still not like when we had a Beis HaMikdash. Okay, so being that last page, which is a summary, we don't have. So let's go to the other page, which we gave out last time with the questions. We'll sort of summarize it by going over these questions. And we're up to question number 12. So, of course, the first question is, how would you just say it in a simple way? What are the 5 types of tests? Who would like to volunteer? Hey, Razel.
I'd like to volunteer. So the first type of test is how far you'll go to do a mitzvah, like the Rabbi getting a esrog or like Avram and going to the Akira.
Right.
And then the next type of test is not complaining to Hashem when we're suffering, but we don't have a lot. And then the next one is like the opposite, when we have abundance and not getting a goat's or head and like forgetting Hashem.
Right.
And then the fourth type is like resisting a temptation to a Torah or doing an Avera.
Right.
And then the last type is the test Aramuna, so that's.
Couldn't have said it better. Very clear. These are the 5 tests.
Yeah.
And any test you have will fall under one of these 4 categories. Okay. 5 categories. Okay. Okay, now number 13 and 14, we didn't spend a lot of time on this, but we did cover this. How is the Avodah of a Nisayan and observing a Loisesa similar? How is the Avodah of a Nisayan observing a Loisesa different? How are they similar and how are they different? The Avodah of overcoming an Nisayan and the Avodah of not doing an Avera, in what way are they similar and in what way are they different? Yeah.
So one, like not do the Avera, is the Avera and the temptation, but you don't do it. And the other one is that you don't know it, but you choose not to do it.
So the truth is what you're saying is true, but I'm looking for the thing that talks out in the Mimer. In the mimer, there's a certain point. That's what I want to hear. What you're saying is emes. And like everything, there's a lot of different ways of looking at things. But in the mimer, there's something where he points out how an Nisayan and observing a loy sesa are similar, and then also how they're different. Yes.
Does that have to do with the klipa?
Excellent. Go ahead.
So the klipas are bounded, and whenever you are accomplishing, like whenever you pass a test, you're like letting go or uplifting that spark of godliness that was trapped by the klipa that's aggressively opposing godliness. And then also in mitzvah say, which like you're not supposed to like do it. So because it's bounded in the klipa, you're uplifting spark by not doing it.
So it's the same.
Yeah.
So how are they different?
It's similar. And then the difference is that, is this with the Baal Tshuva?
No, that's the next one.
That's the next question. So how are they different? Not sure.
Okay, so in both cases, let's go from here. In both cases, they're similar. It's all about elevating klipa, but there's a difference. Yeah.
So the mitzvahs, what does that say? They're not like, some of them we're not tempted to do. Like, we're not going to violate them before. Like, we're already, like, we don't have any like desire to just like break them before. But like, for an Nisayan, it's like something that's like aggressively opposed and that we're like, we need to fight for, basically.
Right, but what is the difference in terms of the klipa?
It fell lower. It's first fell lower in Nisayan.
True. Unless you say what I want you to say, it's not gonna. The point he made was that when you observe a loisesa, this is pushing away the klipa, rejecting the klipa, throwing it away, and therefore it can't do any harm. When we observe an asayan, or we'll learn later about tshuva, we transform the klipa. Like we gave the example, if someone who is causing harm, one possibility is that you just lock the door, you don't let him in. And the other possibility is that you talk to them until they become a changed person. So loisesa is rejecting klipa. You don't elevate, you just reject it, push it away. When you observe a nisayan and the nisayan makes you actually stronger, you're elevating the klipa, elevating the klipa that was there, right? You're revealing the godly spark in it. And that's connected to the next one. How is the avodah of tshuva greater than observing loisesa? Also the same thing. Because when you do tshuva, remember we explained that the fact that I did the avera makes me now stronger in my love for Hashem. So then I'm transforming the klipa. But when I do a loisesa, I don't transform. Loisesa pushes away klipa. Doesn't transform. So even though I'm not eating chametz, even though I'm not eating treif, I'm not eating on Yom Kippur, yes, all these things that I'm doing is accomplishing something. It's like putting up a wall and not allowing an enemy to get in, but I'm not changing the enemy. But when we do tshuva or in a saying, we're actually transforming the klipa into kedusha. Then one more question here. I'm sure you all know that answer. I mean, you know the answers to all of them, but you'll be able to say it. How is the avodah of an asayin greater than the avodah of tshuva? Where's the spark higher? Right. The spark is much higher in Nisayan than things that a person did, which was not according to Torah. So therefore, in that way, a Nisayan is even greater. And the last question is, how is the avodah of a Nisayan today new and compared to the past? That's what the Rebbe says in that Maimer. And the answer is what we just said now, that because a Nisayan today, because years ago, even there was a Nisayan, and even if they had to fight for it, even giving up their life, but there was something there that was so revealed that they were in some way like almost compelled to do it. They had something in them that was driving them to do it because they saw openly godliness. Today, we don't see godliness open, and still we're doing it. So therefore, this kind of standing up to this kind of sign is greater than what happened in all previous generations. So how do we do it if there's nothing and there's nothing revealed? What's the answer? The answer is there's nothing revealed, but we do have the neshama, the yechida, and that's part of my neshama that is giving me the strength and giving me the drive to do things, even which I'm a serious nefesh, not to be stopped by anything. So when people are not laughing at you, but let's say they're giving you an intellectual argument, so you answer with intellectual answer, and they think that they're right, you think you're right, but there's a question, there's an answer, there's a proof, there's this. But when people are laughing and ridiculing, it's a different kind of a test because they're just putting you down and just humiliating you for doing this or doing that and using all sorts of words and all sorts of languages to make you feel like ridiculous for learning Torah, doing mitzvahs. That's much harder to stand up against. And yet, we stand up to that Messiah. Okay, we will, so tomorrow we're going to start a new mimer. Before we start the new mimer, we'll do that last page. I'll give out a copy. And again, the new mimer tomorrow is still going to be a continuation. It's going to be more insight into a Nisayan, more about, practically speaking, how are we actually supposed to approach the Nisayan. But for now, we will do the Kapitel Tilim for all the Yidden in Eretz Yisrael. Hashem and the Schus of the Tilim and the Schus of the Tzedakah. Hashem should perform great miracles in Eretz Yisrael in all areas. The hostages should come home healthy and well, and the people that are fighting, the soldiers and everybody, the Hashem should protect them, and all those that were wounded should be healed, and there should be immediate victory for Yidden and a defeat for all the enemies of Yidden. Eventually, the other ones will be transformed. I don't know if you saw this, but yesterday, as we know, one hostage was freed. No one knows yet the details why only one, what was going on, but there was a woman that she was freed. Online, it was, circulating through the whole world that this woman's from Kiryat Gat. Not the woman. The woman is a girl, 19-year-old girl, but her mother and her family live in Kiryat Gat, and they have a neighbor who was a Lubavitcher person, and they wrote in to the Rebbe for bracha and Igros Kodesh, and they have a picture of the answer. The answer of the Rebbe is hopefully soon we'll see the fulfillment of all our wishes, especially the wish that all those that are in distress and held in captivity would be freed. Yeah.
Wow.
What? Can't hear you.
Elisa, they go into Gaza, and Elisa, she was in one of the tunnels, they leave her there.
Yeah. She was captured Mamish on the first day, October 7th. Okay, we should see miracles with everyone at once. It's the first beginning. Lam natsayach mizmar leDavid, yan chadenoi b'yom tzara, yisagev choshem Elohei Yaakov, yishlach ezricha mikodesh u'mitzion yisadeka, yizkar kol melchaisecha va'iloscha yidash nesela, yitan lecha chil bavecha v'chol atzascha yimalei, Mirana Bishua Secho, B'Shem Eloheinu Nidga, Yimale Adonai Kol Mishale Secho, Ata Yodaiti Ki Yeshia Adonai Mishiche, Ya'anehu Mishmei Koche, B'Gvureis Yesha Yeminei, Eile B'Rechev V'Eile B'Susim, V'Anachnu B'Shem Adonai Eloheinu Nazke, Heima Korav Nafolu, V'Anachnu Kamnu B'Naseidot, Adonai Yeshia, HaMelech Ya'aneinu V'Yem Kareinu.
Thank you, Rabbi Majeski. Thank you, everybody.
Well, I know. It's an emotional.
Good morning. Hi, Cindy.
No, I know you're in need of, but like. Well, yeah. I was very, very good. I was really upset. That is upsetting. Whatever's terrible.
Yeah. Yeah. Wait, just two.
Okay.
One that's like every day and one that's like. Little branching. Everyone good to DACA?
But I didn't. Yeah, you didn't feel it.
This laptop is acting up, man. Just letting you know.